Hey Team Style Mag, Totally Randy here. As always, thank you for rocking out with me. It's time for another interview. I have Lex and Musiq SoulChild.
Hey, what's good, y'all? This is Musiq SoulChild, and right now you are checking out me and Totally Randy right here on Houston Style Magazine.
Well, this is Lex, and you're rocking with Totally Randy for Houston Style Magazine.
I first want to talk to you guys about how you guys connected.
So I say I'm Grammy-nominated through Big Brother, through Musiq SoulChild. That's all feel the real, you know what I mean? We did one more time on that album. So we met 2013. I was working at a record store, and we happened to just cross paths. Musiq was just walking down the street, him and his brother, and then I think his niece was with him and everything. And but at this particular time, he just happened to be by himself. I don't know why or how, because he never. I don't think
just be walking.
Ever just be by yourself like that. So we just happened to stop him, introduced ourselves. Me, my boy David Luke, and some other friends. Introduced ourselves, asked him to listen to some of our music in the studio that we had at the record store, and he came up, chopped it up with us. You know what I'm saying? And I think we just had that chemistry from the jump. And the next day we were working. We got a group together, Lomi Trice. We just been going. Yeah, we've been going in together for the past 7 years. So
Musiq, you probably have that happen to you. I can't even count the time. So like, what made you just stop and say, you know what, these guys?
I don't know. It was just a vibe. It was an energy that they had. Even then, when I was deciding to stop and deciding to hear them out and deciding to see what was good with them, even I was questioning myself, like, what are you doing? Like,
Right?
You ain't got time for this. But the fact of the matter is, I did have time for it, and I just challenged myself, like, dude, like, what reason do you have to not hear this person out? I went along with it, and I'm so grateful that I did.
And Alex, like, I hear a lot of these stories, and they don't always go the way yours has went. Sometimes people get that opportunity and they fumble it. What made you go in and say, you know what, this is our opportunity? How was that process for you?
Well, when I saw music, I was already influenced by music, growing up. So and it was crazy, like
which is crazy with it. So I'm constantly reminded that not everybody feels the same way. You know what I'm saying? Just because and you've been around for a while, don't mean that everybody feel the same way. So it's dope that I was able to connect with somebody that was impacted by what I did. Like for me, that's just really crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like it was just divine timing, because I knew I was like, as a songwriter, it's sometimes you got to write for people that don't even fit your style, who don't serve like your strengths. So when we ran into music, I was like, this is somebody that by default, I feel like we got similar influence. You know what I mean? Like, I know that what I do naturally, it'll just mesh. So when I met him, I was like, man, it's got to be a blessing, because I was just writing in my bio 2 weeks ago that I'm influenced by Musiq SoulChild and Pharrell. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. Did you ever tell me that?
I didn't tell you that. It's more every time.
Totally Randy is getting exclusives, okay?
Yeah.
Right,
but it keeps happening. Like, every time we do an interview, he tells me more and more about what happened. And I'm like, what, bruh, that's crazy. Yeah.
Right.
I really feel like God like rewards you for, I think, first of all, having respect too, because like I was telling you, in my bio, I was writing that I was influenced by Pharrell, Musiq, and Andrew 3000. You know what I'm saying? And Pharrell represented my diversity. You represented, my soul and my singing side, and Andrew 3000 represented my Atlanta side.
Got you.
Like a couple weeks before I ran into you, I saw Andrew 3000 on the same street on Peter Street. And I didn't speak because he was sitting out eating with his family. And I decided, my boy was with me. He was like, man, we should run up. But I'm like, he's sitting out with his family, you feel me? Like, even though, like, when do you see somebody like this? I feel like it's respect, you know what I mean? I speak from over here, whatever. And just, what's meant for me, I'm not going to have to be intrusive. I'm not going to have to be overstepping for it to open up for me. So we ran into you, and you just happened to be walking down the street by yourself. I was like,
wasn't doing that.
I was like, this got to be God, because you know what I'm saying, like this is movie stuff. This don't really happen like that.
Right.
So I feel like everything was just divine timing.
Right.
I love that, and you touched on something that's so important, and I think a lot of people don't do it right now. They don't pay homage to people who came before them. Like a lot of artists, you'll ask them like, where do you get your inspiration from? And it's like, oh, I've been doing this. You know, I've been kind of, but you know, like that style.
You're the first, right?
Right, exactly. You invented the wheel, but you're like, I can name 10 people, like, you know. So for you to say, like, first of all, the respect, how important is it for a young artist to have a mentor like you?
I don't, you know, I said it before, and I think I need to change my mindset on it, because despite the fact that it's not in my conscious intention, it still was happening. What I'm referring to is the concept of mentorship. I never viewed him as someone that I was mentoring. Like that would never cross my mind. It was just somebody that was in my path, and I just have a bad habit of imparting information on people that I know, because I like putting people on game, because I come from a timeline where I didn't get that a lot. So I want to do that for people, because I know what it's like to not just be pulled aside and like, hey, bro, blah, 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 you know, go ahead. You know, I was always on the side of, why ain't nobody just tell me? Like, I could have did this a long time ago, you know? So it's like I have a compulsion where I got to be like, hey, come here. Hey, you know, I feel like I'm so compelled to do that, but everybody's not receptive to that, you know? So I had to learn the hard way, where sometimes you just gotta leave folks alone and let them figure it out on their own. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I kind of have like a slight aversion to the whole concept of being a mentor. However, the reality is that's kind of like the definition of it. You know, what it is that I'm doing, I'm essentially doing that, whether I'm consciously doing it, whether I'm calling myself doing it, it's what's happening, because people keep saying it. Like, what makes you feel, you know, when did you decide to, and what is it about him that did you know, feel like you had to mentor? And it's like, okay, so cool. I embrace that now. So to answer that question, it was more so him, you know. It wasn't like I went out looking for him, you know. And even when I did get to know him and he was around me, it wasn't really like he was like asking, really. He was just making himself available, and that paired with my, you know, need to help and assist and look out, and then him being receptive, and then not only just hearing and be like, okay, him taking it and he like repurpose it and put it back into the, like, showing results.
Right. Yeah. And I love that.
When somebody's a true expert at something, you feel me, they gonna be just naturally teaching, because everything they do is something that people that are learning have not seen before. You know, like when I'm in the studio with Musiq, and to see how efficient, like, first of all, he like a machine, because he barely take breaks. It'd be like, did you eat?
Okay, all right. That's my bad, bro. My bad.
Because we've been going 10 hours.
More often. I'm sorry.
And I'm at the point now where I'm like, if I can keep up with Musiq, SoulChild, can't nobody tell me nothing in the studio. People can tell me something in the studio, but I can keep up with anybody.
I feel you, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You know,
totally. And that's why you said there's a level of mentorship. It sounds like a high level of mentorship. It's good to hear this music, because honestly, I just felt like your talent is innate, right? So sometimes when people's talent is innate, they don't have to really work at their craft. But to hear that you do work so hard even now at your craft, that you have studied for years. I mean, we're talking about 13 Grammy nominations. You know what I mean? Like you're there, right? But you continue to work hard, and that's very inspirational for Alex. Let's talk about you guys' projects though. The one that's just released December 10th. You guys had a Christmas song came out, Simple as Christmas. And who came up with that concept?
This guy.
So coming up with Simple as Christmas, that was just about adding some joy to the end of the year. You know, like, this year has been so tough. Everything, I was like, it's been kind of heart-wrenching. You feel me? It's been I know a lot of people that's been talking about more and more about depression. I know I went through phases this year where I was just angry, whatever. You know, everybody had their own way of dealing with certain things. And I just knew, I'm like, man, people they need something so they can feel good. So I just knew, I was like, I wanna have a song that people can play with their family, that I can play with my family. And I knew I wanted to have Big Bro a part of it. And so we just came together. I brought a few dope musicians that I know, Elijah Fox, Hero the producer, Ruben Royster, and we came together, you know, and we just did it, you know, and now I feel like we got something that's gonna really add some joy and some light, hopefully for years to come in people's hearts.
You released in September From a Seed, you know, your project, and then you just did an exclusive giveaway, which I thought was really cool.
We did the giveaway, that was with Exclusive Experience out of Atlanta, and we decided, like you mentioned, From a Seed, that whole thing was about my story and my journey and what I'm growing from. You know, like I'm not even fully bloomed yet, but I just like look what I'm coming from a seed. So with this year, it was like, okay, we wanted to choose 5 women that shared their from a seed story that we were inspired by, which is basically, what did you overcome? You know, how can this help you the most? And we picked our women and we invited them out to the spa. They all got facials and pedicures, manicures. We had gift bags for them and shirts with roses and apple cider. You know, we really tried to just lay it out and just get them something to make them feel special to close out this year. And so I got a chance to sit down with the women and talk to them one-on-one and about what they're going through and hopefully say something that might have inspired them. And because I was inspired by just talking to them. It's like one of them had just got their degree, got their master's degree. It was just a lot of different things where it's like, okay, you know, people are really going through things in their life and working to overcome it. They're not giving up. So that was just dope to be able to get something back.
Yeah, that's multifaceted. I love that. Musiq, you got the New Year's Eve. You're gonna be partnering
I know.
up. Yeah, so
it just keeps going. It keeps going, man.
You guys are working overtime. I'm telling you, right? Yeah, you're with T3 and of Slum Village. So that live concert, you know, you're ready for it. This is what you do, right?
Definitely. Like, I'm grateful that, you know, this year has definitely been a little more slow coming. You know, the shows ain't been popping like they used to, you know, and I've had to deal with the reality of that, you know, because bills are real, overheads are true, you know, and you just gotta, you know, figure it out. So it's always a blessing when you get an opportunity to get out there and, you know, and not only just to make money, because that's definitely a part of it, and that's a very important part of it, but also mostly to connect with the people. You know, we're in the social distancing era, so you can't really, the shows are kind of like really interesting. You know, I've done a couple pull-up shows where people just drive through and they pull up in their car and they got to sit in their car. It's just a whole new thing. You know, they're not out there in front of you, can't touch them, you know, so it's a different vibe. So, and I'm sure a lot of people are trying to figure out, you know, what the new wave is going to look like when it comes to these shows. So anytime that, you know, on that front, anytime that a show presents itself, like, I'm definitely all over it, you know. Of course, it has to make sense. We have to be safe. You know, the bread got to be right, you know, because, you know, some people do take advantage, you know, because they know that we in the pandemic and they're like, well, I mean, what else is you doing? Like, dude, that's not fair. Don't do that.
Right.
You know, because I'm the kind of person that I will take the L on principle.
Obviously, I have to dive into a little bit of your personal lives. I'm not going to get too deep because, you know, I respect you guys as artists. Alex, I was fortunate enough, interestingly enough, to hear some of your brother's music. You know, you guys have 2 totally different styles, but like, how do you feel like this is him coming up?
So my younger brother, male figure, is he a whole character, you know what I'm saying? And I really love what he's doing, you know what I'm saying? I remember, you know, when I first started doing music, he was like 8 years old. I was calling myself Cartoon, and he was always into what he always showed an interest. You know, I used to be carrying around my little recording studio, he'd be freestyling. You know, so to see him now, and really taking the music seriously, he been in the studio working on this album for the past 5 months, and it's exciting. Like, our sound is totally different. He's more like the Travis Scott, Trippie Redd. He a rager, you know, he really go crazy. But the dope thing about him is, like, he's like that, but he got the opposite too. He's down to earth and he's soulful at the same time. Like, once you get to know him, so I'm proud of him. I really love what he's doing. And I encourage it to the max.
What inspires you to write? Because a lot of people say, like, they see that Drake got his heart broke. Oh, a dope album is about to come out. You know, like, a lot of people say that. I know, right? It's like a lot of people say that a lot of good work comes from pain.
That's so sad.
I know. Is that you, Alex? Like, how do you work?
So I can tell you how. So it's 2 different things about love that inspire me. So when I'm excited about love, I can write in that moment. I can be feeling in that moment and express it creatively. That's but real. If it made me feel down, if it's the opposite effect, then I might not be able to write about it in that moment, but maybe months later, once I'm through it, then I can come back and kind of reflect on it and then put it down in a way where it does, you know, I can just write a bunch of songs. Like, honestly, a lot of the Lumi Try stuff, you know, a lot of those songs were inspired by my last relationship, you know, just about, you know, even we got a song called PDA, San Diego. Hey. You know, that's one of the songs, you know, talking about some of the moments from me and my ex in San Diego. We got What's we got a song called Angels. Say I fly over. You know, it's a lot of different things where I wasn't able to get it out in that moment just because I was so wrapped up emotionally about how I felt. Like I said, you know, sometimes I'd be like, I don't want to write if it's just bad like that. So once I was through it did help, and I was over like a couple weeks. I was able to sit down and get out like the foundation of a lot of ideas.
I'm the same way. I'm like really the same. It's funny. It's interesting to hear that from somebody else. I'm literally the same way. Like if I'm happy and I'm joyful and I'm feeling good about what's happening, oh, bro, it's coming out. You know what I'm saying? But when it's not good, it's not because I'm not even in the mindset. I'm not even in the space where I feel like doing it. You know, like I'm demotivated. I don't feel inspired at all. Like I just want everything to stop, you know, like I want everybody to leave me alone because, you know, I'm an actively creative individual. So I draw from my emotional state. So I'm super sensitive, you know. I mean, I may not lash out and dump and project on people, but I will close off and I will disappear. And I got to hibernate and figure this out and process. But when I'm in a better mindset, it's not that I'm using it, but I'm drawing from that as a reference whenever I need to, you know, talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm not so emotionally connected to it as I was in the past, where I just get triggered and don't want to finish the song, you know. So I'm very much the same way.
So you probably was in an amazing mood when you were I Just Want to Sing 20 years ago. You just celebrated that milestone. So where were you? Yeah. See, and I assumed. So
no, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. So a lot of people don't understand. I Just Want to Sing wasn't intentionally set out to be an album. I Just Want to Sing is filled with songs that I was just recording because that was when I was just starting to record. I never recorded in the studio before until I started recording the songs that ultimately became my first album. I was nomadic and homeless and living on the streets and leaning on people and trying to see where I was going to stay that day. And, you know, because I had a weird upbringing and stuff got real. So I had to like start figuring it out. And thankfully the opportunity presented itself, you know, with some people that wanted to take a chance on me and get me in the studio, record some songs because they heard about me. I had a little reputation of being, you know, a cool singer and stuff in Philly. And, you know, word got around and people were willing to look out. So when I was writing on stuff, what I didn't understand at the time is that the reason why, because I had people who have been through those situations, who have been in those relationships, who've been married, who've been divorced, who had kids, who had to like deal with breakups and stuff like that. They would come to me and be like, fam, like you are telling my life. Like, how are you telling my life? And what I didn't realize is the same emotions that you deal with when it comes to romantic spaces are the same emotions that you deal with non-romantic spaces. Those are just what the feelings are, and they make you feel what they feel. You just can attribute it. You could just attribute them to different things.
One of the greatest love songs ever is on that album. Love is one of the greatest love songs ever.
But the interesting thing about that song is that it is almost like an anti-love song because this song is not a celebration of love. It's not. Listen to the words.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Listen to the words. This is a grievance that I have. You know, this is almost like I'm talking to HR, like, yo, somebody got love messed up down here because I'm not really getting what's happening. Can somebody put me on game? I didn't get the email. I didn't get the memo. I don't know what's happening. Do I have this messed up? Because people keep using this in a way where it's not really feeling like what people say love is supposed to feel like. Like I must got this messed up. So it's really like a cry. So it's interesting when people want me to sing that song at their wedding. Is like, why would you want to put that energy on your wedding? Like, well, that's weird.
I think the reason why is because so many people don't have the perfect love story. They don't when they first get together. Right. Like a lot of people, especially us, and now I'm going into a whole different segment. We have what's called struggle love.
Yeah.
When we first get together. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, and sometimes people are conditioned, like we're supposed to think that love is supposed to hurt. Or you're supposed to struggle and get it out the mud. That's not, you know what I mean?
Like we can have that conversation.
Listen, I know you guys have a hard stop, but music. Let's go. We can get back on here. Okay, Lex, you'll be with us.
Oh no, we already on that. Like we on the Lumi Trice project, we got like a little interlude where, you know, he talks about generational things that we inherit. You know what I'm saying? Like you are speaking on a very, very real thing. But that, like I said, that is a way longer conversation.
It is.
However, just to kind of circle back around, yeah, I wasn't, in love during I Just Want to Sing. I had already been exposed to a lot of spaces that sort of triggered those emotions, in many different ways, to the point that when I started entering into those romantic spaces, it kind of tainted my perception. It was very weird. I was very standoffish. I was very aloof. I was very distant. I didn't really want to name things. I didn't really want to, categorize them. I didn't want to be boxed in and feel like that. But it's like, you have to have some level of commitment when it comes to a relationship. Otherwise, you can't expect the other person to put in. So I had a lot of girls was like, dude, I don't know what you on, but I'm out. Like, this is dumb, And my attitude at the time, because I didn't know any better, that's not an excuse. It's just the truth. I didn't know any better. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's whatever. I didn't do that. I didn't do the chase. I'm like, wait, no, let me, nah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that played into a lot of other stuff that had nothing to do with her or the situation that I didn't realize that I had to fix and clean up and deal with and unpack and figure out. It's only now through the quarantine that really, if I'm being honest, that I really started dealing with a lot of stuff,
Yeah. And I did want to ask you too, because autism is really close to my heart. I have a nephew that's autistic.
Oh, okay.
World Autism Day, April the 2nd. Do you ever do anything, or do you do anything coming up with World Autism Day?
Not personally, but my son's mom does, and I attach myself to it.
Okay.
I had just honestly speaking, I never really put too much emphasis on that because I didn't really, even though I was aware of his challenges, I didn't really view him as, something that needed to be fixed or dealt with or whatever. I just embraced him as he is. So I kind of had that mindset, yeah, he has his challenges, but he's fine. And there's no need to make a big deal about it until, it was brought to my attention, but dude, you have to understand there are other people out there that deals with this same situation, that they could use a voice like yours to speak on it, but also you have the other part of me where I don't like to broadcast my personal, information, my personal life. I've never been the person to talk about my personal things. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why I don't really put too much emphasis on it. However, his mom, she moves a little bit different, and she knows she has, access to me, and she knows that I'm willing to be down for whatever when it comes to him and her. So
yeah, I appreciate you being so transparent. Really appreciate you guys sitting down and speaking with Houston Style Magazine. If there's one last thing you want to tell our audience, please go for it. You have the floor.
Just keep believing in yourself, keep working. Start your New Year's resolution right now. You feel me? Anything you want to be in 2021, you already are that. Just go in, believe it, and do the work, and you'll be all right.
I just want to encourage people to stay safe, be smart. I know we all want to move like it used to be, but it ain't like it used to be, But it doesn't mean that it's going to be bad or it's going to be this way forever. Just be mindful, be considerate, and keep going. And God bless you.
All right, one more thing. Download Simple as Christmas.
Yes, download Simple as Christmas.
We still got more time left. Yeah. Christmas is around the corner. Download and play with your family 100 times.
Yes.
All right, Team Style Mag, that's a wrap. Make sure you guys go and follow Houston Style Magazine. Thank you for rocking out with me as always. I'm Totally Randy.